So, folks, if you're not familiar, Kevin McCarthy had a House vote today. I couldn't wait for tomorrow to do this video. Had to do it today. The Schadenfreude is just delightful. Oh my gosh. I got my Clark Kents on, full on in night mode. Doesn't matter. Man. So the vote for Speaker of the House happened today. And then it happened again today. Then it happened for a third time today. Because nobody got 218 votes, which is what is necessary to be Speaker of the House. That is because the outright terrorists are fighting with the shy terrorists. And I had a theory yesterday about what the motivation might be behind this. I'm now fairly convinced that it's correct. But I have to admit, it's speculation. So I'm going to save that for the end of the video. First, let's jump in to a CNN video talking about Kevin McCarthy's super embarrassing day, bearing in mind that this guy deserves to be embarrassed. Here we go.
In this second ballot, I want to talk to Manu Raju, who just spoke with one of the 19 rebels, Congressman Chip Roy, Republican of
A
Texas,
Democrat got the most votes.
who voted for a
Love
colleague of his from Florida on the first vote and voted for Jim Jordan on the second. Manu, what did Congressman Chip Roy have to say?
Yeah, he is really not moving.
So that lady right there is my gal, Cheryl Johnson. That is the first black woman to be in charge of the House of Representatives. There's a delicious irony that MAGA made that happen. And guess what? She is still tonight. She's going to go in there tomorrow, still in charge. Love it. For context, I forget. She's the clerk, which means that until a speaker is chosen, she is in charge. Somebody made this comment when I mentioned that yesterday. I don't think it takes away at all from when we inevitably get a black Speaker of the House appointed. I don't think it does at all. I think this is it's a footnote, but it's a delightful footnote, and it's progress, man. We take strides of any size.
Off his opposition,
As long as
really
they're forward.
aligning himself with a number of conservative members, those hardliners who want a number of demands to strengthen the rank and file, weaken the speakership, things that Kevin McCarthy says he already has agreed to. But Roy making very clear to me that he is almost certainly not going to be in the McCarthy camp.
You got to be able to have the people at the table in the Rules Committee or otherwise involved in the decision-making to guarantee that we'll actually enforce the rules we just talked about. By the way, everybody that was in that Republican Congress meeting this morning said, we like the rules. Good job. Chip and you guys, you worked hard for the rules. And then at the end, they said, but if you don't vote for McCarthy, we're going to get rid of the rules. It's a game. That's the game. And they actually put a quote on the board that said something in the zip code of, hey, for the part of trying to put people on the committee with diverse views, and Kevin said that, he said, but a whole lot of people in the room didn't want that.
So what he's referring to is the morning meeting that occurred today, in which Kevin McCarthy tried to essentially arm twist these members into supporting him. That clearly backfired for people like Chip Roy, saying that essentially what they are suggesting, their threats and the like, did not win them over. In fact, grew the opposition, had the opposite effect that McCarthy and his allies had wanted. But McCarthy's allies are indicating, Jake, that they are not moving either. I just talked to Congressman Mike Lawler.
Well, thanks for tossing to me. I knew. Yeah, I think that's political dealing behind the scene for sure. Folks, I think this is a third party emerging. Finally. I think the MAGA extremists are, I think this is what they're going to use as their excuse to start a third party. I think this is, what's that? Oh, that's my mic. Yeah, I think this is what they're going to use as their excuse to start a third party. I think they are going to say, we can't work with these other folks, yada, 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 we're starting the extremist party.
He's an incoming congressman who told me that if it goes to 50 ballots, he plans to stick with Kevin McCarthy for 50 ballots. He said to those conservative foes, what is their end game? We'll keep voting and voting and voting. And guess what? They don't have enough votes, and we outweigh them. So that's the question here, Jake. Who will blink first? Right now, McCarthy allies are saying they won't do it, and neither will the conservatives. Will there be some sort of consensus? At the moment, no consensus candidate.
They're going to talk about it in a minute. And they're going to say there's no chance of it. I disagree. There's a dark horse for who could screw this up, and it is, of course, as always, the Democrats.
Kevin McCarthy, 19 votes against him
as long
right
as
now.
this is
He
deadlocked,
needs to only keep that to 4 votes.
The Republican House can't bother
So we
the
just
rest
heard
of us.
Manu talking to Congressman Chip Roy, one of the 19 rebels who seemed to suggest he's not blinking. I just got a text, Abby Phillip, from one of the 203 voting for Kevin McCarthy, who said McCarthy will get the vote. We're not blinking either.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair,
the
hallmark of this group of 19 and the folks who are kind of leading this charge is that it's all about throwing a wrench in the machine, but not actually solving any problems. Who is the alternative? No one has really emerged who will actually have a shot of getting to 218. And I think that it is fair to kind of put the onus.
Special piece of irony that Jim Jordan, the guy who had 6 wrestlers accuse him of covering up their sexual abuse, is the one who the MAGA extremists are holding up as their choice. Of course. But of course, also, as they're pointing out right now, these people don't actually believe in anything except their own self-interest.
On the Never McCarthys and say, okay, so who?
Right.
So who's the person who's going to get there? Otherwise, they're going to be voting all night and maybe tomorrow and until next year, until someone else emerges, if it's not going to be.
Well, and so here's the challenge. If you're part of the, what I would refer to as the governing wing, not necessarily moderate, but people who actually want to get stuff done. Right now, Jim Jordan is sitting in that wing. The challenge has always been that those people actually do want to see things happen. They want to bring deliverables home to their district. That's what their voters are demanding. If you're a Republican in a Biden district, that's what they're saying. That's what they need to get reelected. Those people ultimately are going to have more of an incentive to end this. I mean, I almost swore right there, to end this show, you fill in the blank, that's happening right now on the House floor, because they have political incentives that line up with ending it and finding a Speaker of the House. These 19 people, and this has been the problem with dealing with the Freedom Caucus, from John Boehner to Paul Ryan, right on down to where we are today, is that they do not seem to care about that piece of it. They don't care about governing. Their self-interest, you've heard the word narcissist being used by many of their opponents in the Republican Party today. They care about, as John has said, appearing on right-wing radio. What is their profile? The leverage and the ways that leadership used to have to get control of people like these 19 are basically gone. And that means that for them, sitting here and doing this 50 times, who cares? They don't have any skin in that game necessarily. Whereas all these people who are sitting with Kevin McCarthy, they actually do. And they may get to a...
Yeah, it's just a question of how much cosplaying each Republican politician has to do in order to keep their job. The more traditional ones have to do a lot of cosplaying, have to pretend a lot like they're actually trying to do things for the people. Whereas the MAGA people, their whole spiel is just to be obnoxious. Like their voting base just equates being obnoxious with changing the system, I guess. I don't really know. They just they're like the people that encourage the undiagnosed ADD kid in class to act up. That's all they are. So just delightful to see this chaos happening. Let me get to where corporate media is pulling a corporate media.
Point where they have to say, look, we got to make a change here.
But can I just say one thing? This McCarthy ally just sent this to me. This is a quote from Congressman Guy Reschenthaler, would be an incoming chief deputy whip. If they think this is going to be a game of chicken to see who's going to blink first, they're going to be sadly surprised. We'll be here until 4th of July voting for McCarthy.
Well, that's the thing. They feel like if they back
Right,
down,
keep it
they're
going.
giving in to these 19, but really the 5 and
Someone
the 9 who've been
break
going
a
back
pool
and forth all
cue
week.
and
That's
toss
what
it
Mike
in
Lawler
front
said
of 'em.
earlier. He said, we'll take 1 vote or 100 votes. He said, we're
Oh,
going to
look
keep
at that
going until we
pedophile.
elect a speaker.
An
I'm fully
actual
committed to
person
that. He
who
said
has
Kevin McCarthy
engaged,
is
as
not
far as
backing
we
down
know,
from this.
according to
And
an
we should note that in that
investigation
tense meeting
in
we were
child
talking about
sex
this morning,
trafficking.
Mike Rogers from
Sue me,
Alabama
punk.
said they would remove these people from their
love
committees
Discovery.
that are voting against Kevin McCarthy.
I don't
that
think
that's
they
a step.
care.
Well, yeah, I mean,
They don't care,
Yeah.
but it is important because part of the negotiations that they've been talking about with the concessions has been what the committee makeup looks like and how many members of the House Freedom Caucus are on certain committees.
Well, I mean, McCarthy said he would give them more or less what they wanted, and they don't
Still
want
said
that.
no.
I mean, some of those
Okay,
members
there.
have said on the
It's not the Democrat thing, but there is something interesting. Yesterday I was talking about what could they be trying to do? What could they possibly want? And what was so baffling was that, like, the one request that possibly kind of made sense, like if you squint, was agreed to. 5, the ability to do a recall with 5 votes, and there was a 5 block. There was a 5-person block in that no McCarthy block. But anyway, they said no to it still, and then they insisted on 1 person can do a recall vote or can call a recall vote. As I've said, I'm generally in favor of anything that weakens, that makes it more easy to hold a politician accountable in any way. But would that really? That would, how, if you're just 1 person calling for a recall, is the recall vote going to pass? Probably not. So it's a waste of time. So then it's just a way to waste government's time. Did they actually want that? Considering that this came from, I think, Lauren Boebert, I'm going to assume no. She doesn't actually, I'm in fact certain that she does not even know how the government works, even though she's part of it. So what I'm seeing up there, when I see 19 votes for Representative Jim Jordan, I see the beginning of a new political party. That's a not insignificant number of seats to hold in Congress if you're a new political party. And if you don't have to worry about getting elected because you already snuck in, you were elected elsewhere, or you were elected under a different political party, but you're already seated, well, now that's interesting. That is the kind of scumbag behavior I would imagine MAGA people wouldn't hesitate to do. Frankly, any Republican wouldn't hesitate to do. The farther right you go, the more likely you are to engage in behavior like that. Case in point, Kyrsten Sinema. I think the most popular video on this channel is called "Everybody Hates Sinema," and it's just a look at TYT Investigates' work on how everybody hates Sinema. It's because she did exactly that. So I can very much see 19 Republicans getting their heads together and deciding that there is a, I don't know, future OAN anchor position for them if they make a big show of switching parties. Or just straight up try another coup, but this time armed and they don't have any pretense.
It doesn't matter what Kevin McCarthy offers us. We are not going to take it. And I think to Casey's point, the underlying problem here is that there is a huge portion of the Republican base that is not interested in any way, shape, or form in anything that's happening in Washington. The whole point is to rabble-rouse, to, to stick it to the other side, to, throw out red meat. And as long as that's the incentive structure, it's really hard if you're trying to hand out some carrots when there's nothing that you can offer them that will be good enough.
Look, this is a group who wants to burn it down. Kevin offered them everything.
Yeah.
And they said no, they don't want it. I also think we should talk about former Congressman Rodney Davis talked about the Democrats, that they're going to get tired and they're going to step up. Nonsense.
Oh, no, they love this.
Listen to these corporate news people cackling that. Oh, Democrats shooting themselves in the foot? Never. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Democrats who let George W. Bush go, who let Colin Powell go. Democrats who just gave up the fight in 2000 in Florida. Didn't make a big deal out of the fact that Jeb Bush was governor of Florida. Democrats who just gave up a couple of Supreme Court seats as they allowed Republicans to bully them into not getting their selection. Democrats, the joke these days is that they snatch defeat from the jaws of victory. Yes, I promise you, right now, there are Democrats who are sitting in their very large homes thinking, if I give my vote to one of these corporate Republicans, I wonder what I can get for it. I promise you, Democrats are doing that. They're saying Democrats are loving this, and I'm sure they are. It's great for us, certainly. It's actually secretly great for the MAGA people, too, because as long as this thing is jammed up, they don't actually have to pretend to legislate, which they don't know how to do. They genuinely don't know how to do their jobs. So they don't have to pretend to do their jobs. They can just go, no, over and over and over, and expect a pat on the back. But yes, you should be concerned about Democrats jumping ship. And when they do, this is what it's going to sound like. When you have a scumbag corporate Democrat, centrist, who's like, oh, we have to compromise with Nazis. When that happens, this is what it's going to sound like. They're going to come out and say, the American people didn't send us here to bicker with each other. They sent us here to get things done. They're going to do the stupid Bill Clinton half thumbs up. I hate him. To get things done, which is why I'm voting for Representative McCarthy to be Speaker of the House. He's a good man. We don't agree on everything. Again, ignoring the fact that he brought Trump back into the fold. Ignoring the fact that not only should you not agree on anything, that mother effer would have been fine with a coup d'etat being successful. That's what it's going to sound like. If you want to know what you can do about it, as a side note, do write your representative and do tell them, don't you dare. Don't you dare jump ship. Yeah, you know what? It doesn't matter what party they're in. If things stay as they are, it is good for us. So whoever it is, just say, stay the course, stay the course, stay the course. I do think, in terms of most likely to break, I would say it is either, in which case it would be bad for us, corporate Democrat or corporate Republican who sees this chaos, is genuinely sick of being embarrassed all the time, and decides they're going to vote for Jeffries. Ooh, man. Ooh, look out for that. I keep saying corporate. All Republicans are corporate Republican. No, I take that back, actually. I take that back. I mean centrist, really is what I mean. If you are centrist, though, it's almost synonymous with corporate. It's why I frequently mix them up, because centrists all take money from major corporations.
Nonsense.
The happiest people on the floor of the House.
All day, all night.
Oh,
and, the only question in my mind, someone said to me, who's happier right now, Nancy Pelosi or Liz Cheney? And I think that's
a great question.
It's a good question. But the Democrats are sitting
Jake is happiest right now.
in the best seat, and this is not up to them.
Yeah.
It's up to Kevin McCarthy. And I just want to say one more thing. Chip Roy started this process not as one of the 5 never Kevins.
No, he was one of the 9.
He was one of
Kevin
the 9.
skeptics.
He was trying to negotiate. He thought this could be done before Christmas. That was a very angry Chip Roy there.
No, that was a Chip Roy pretending to be very angry. He doesn't actually have human feelings. No, I think what has happened there is a voting block of 5 to 10 people surprised everybody by actually sticking together in a plan and convinced 9 more people to get on board with them. I think they're planning on starting off as a voting. No, they're not that subtle. I think they're just trying to start a new party. I think they're going to. I think in their heads, what's happening right now is that they are going to make such a mess of this. Ironically, following the Republican playbook, intentionally do a bad job in government, defund it, etc., etc., and then say it doesn't work, and so that's why they're against it. I think they're doing that, but for the Republicans. They're intentionally doing a bad job. They're intentionally not letting them do anything in the House. And then they're going to say they can't get anything done, which is why we are starting, probably they're going to call it the MAGA Party. Wow. Delightful. Well, there's even more updates. NPR has an article that tells you what happened at the end of the day. This just happened. Leadership of the House of Representatives remains in limbo as California Grand Old Party Representative Kevin McCarthy faces internal opposition to his bid for Speaker. On the first day of the new Congress, McCarthy failed to secure. Ooh, I love reading it. I love reading it. The 218 votes necessary to become Speaker of the House in 3 rounds of voting. The House cannot conduct any business, including swearing in new psychopathic MAGA members, until a speaker is chosen. Tuesday's vote was the first time in a century, the kind of thing they put in textbooks, that the election of a House Speaker took multiple ballots to complete. The longest vote in U.S. history took place in 1855, lasting 133 rounds over 2 months. Can you imagine if this goes into February and Republicans can't bother us with their nonsense until February? Oh. McCarthy faces a Republican bloc of critics who want changes to the way the House operates. Although he's given in to many of their demands, he remains short of the votes needed. And then, where did we leave off today? What is tomorrow going to look like? McCarthy hikes up his skirt and says, his frilly underpants, and says they can go through whoever they want to go through, and they'll come to the conclusion that they can't get there. McCarthy told reporters outside of the House floor, just barely holding back tears. House member voted Tuesday to adjourn until noon Eastern Standard Time on Wednesday, when a 4th vote is expected to take place. Oh, it feels good. Man, it feels good. Well, these knuckleheads are going to keep making fools of themselves. If you want to know what you can do about this, good news is you don't have to do much. Status quo right now is it's real good. You can, however, write your representative and tell them stay the course. If you happen to know that your representative is a middle-of-the-road Republican, you can encourage them to vote with the Democrats and say, I don't care about Speaker of the House. Lie to them. Tell them you voted for him. Be like, hey, look, I voted for you. I don't care who the Speaker of the House is. I just want you to put anybody in there, you know? Make it easy for them to take a deal that inevitably Democrats are trying to get. Oh, just a great, great day. Well, This is Wicked. That stands for what you can do. Thank you for joining us today. I would very much appreciate a like and subscribe. This is a brand new channel, and I love bringing you the news. I'd like to keep on doing it as long as I can. My name's Jake. I'll see you next time.